Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Oh, thank you. Welcome to our 12th annual Hall of Honor brunch and induction ceremony. I'd like to thank Sean Farnham here for being our MC today, and welcome you all to the wonderful Orleans in Las Vegas. Today we're here to celebrate 10 remarkable individuals that really embody the excellence and ethic of the West Coast Conference. And I hope all of you knew that we rebranded the league last year. We tipped off the unveil of the new mark at this event last year. And over the course of this last year, we rolled it out. And what I really enjoyed about the process was the complete buy-in by our membership. This new mark was developed through work of our presidents, our athletic directors, our senior women administrators, our faculty representatives, and most importantly, our student athletes. And I really hope you can see that this new mark, it's more than just art. It embodies the forward motion that this league aspires to, but based in the stellar and deep traditions of our iconic institutions and the excellence of our student athletes. For those of you who have not yet been over to our tournament yet, I look forward to welcoming you into our newly dressed venue. Hopefully you'll see our brand look and feel punching up the venue. But we've also rolled out a lot of new initiatives around the event. And I think the first one that everyone notices is our new basketball court. And art aside, design aside, it was a very important initiative for us to actually purchase a court and not have to use an adhesive over the middle to brand the floor, which is a really important concern to the health and safety of our student athletes who play on that surface. And it's one of the things that embodies what we feel is important, and that is the celebration and honoring of our student athletes, and which is why we're here today. So I would like to also thank our sponsors, University Credit Union. We've entered into a long-term agreement with them to be the sponsor of our tournament, and that also enabled us to purchase and paint the court. So not only does UCU embody a great partnership and the mission and values of our league, but they've really helped us improve the quality of the experience of our student athletes at this event. So David Tuyo, UCU, and the UCU team, thank you so much for being such great partners. I'd also like to thank Carlton Dixon of Reveal Suits. New partnership this year. Carlton has a great story. Former student athlete himself started his own business making custom blazers that have your institutional logos and marks on the inside lining. So you'll see those ads around, and as recognition of our Hall of Honor inductees, each of the honorees will get a customized jacket with your school logo on the inside lining. So thank you very much, Carlton, and your most generous gift to our event. Again, each year our Hall of Honor inductees continue to impress and elevate the experience of our league. We honor those that have been inducted in the past and look forward to having the 10 of you join our Hall of Honor for 2020. So again, thank you for your time this morning. Enjoy the tournament, and let's meet our inductees. Done. Gonna go drink.
We got to get Randy Bennett one of those custom-made jackets with the school logo on the inside. It might change up that polo shirt look that he's going with. Gloria, I would like to thank you. It's now time for us to meet the inductees, and the reason we're all here today is to honor each of the inductees. They will come up, be interviewed up on the stage, and we'll give you a little background of each of them before we get started. First up, David Kinsella. David Kinsella excelled on the course and on the track, in the classroom. He did it all when he was up at the University of Portland. During his time on the Bluff, Kinsella was a 3-time All-American, a 3-time academic All-American, and claimed 2 top 10 individual finishes at the NCAA cross-country championships. In 2008, Kinsella placed 4th overall at the NCAA championships after finishing, 8th at the overall at the NCAA championships after, this doesn't make sense, bad script. I'm going to read what was written here, and then you'll understand why all of a sudden I am perplexed. It's because I'm skipping a line. Correction. I'm the moron. All right. Kinsella placed 4th overall at the NCAA championships after finishing 8th the season before. Hooked on phonics, folks. It really does work. He is still the only Portland runner to ever finish inside the top 10 as an individual at the NCAAs. He competed for Portland teams that placed in the top 15 at the NCAA championships, including a 7th place finish overall in 2008, the program's best finish in the NCAAs to that point. Kinsella went on and won the West Coast Conference individual cross-country title in 2008 and helped Portland extend its streak to 30 straight league titles. 30 straight league titles. That's a lot. His 3rd All-American recognition came on the track when he placed 12th in the 10,000 meters at the 2007 NCAA Track and Field Championships. 10,000 meters. I don't think I've ran more than maybe 1,600 in the last 15 years, but that's okay. That's impressive. Kinsella graduated from Portland with even a more impressive feat, a 3.96 grade point average, earning a degree in biology. He was an academic All-American selection 3 times, earning the conference's postgraduate scholarship in 2009. From the University of Portland, David Kinsella.
Every school and every program has their guy, their all-time great. And when I think back about David, not only is he's really special, he's our all-time greatest athlete and probably our all-time greatest student. It's a pretty unique combination. I think when you talk about David, you talk about perfectionist. Type A personality, extremely driven. You're not going to go out and finish 4th at the NCAA championships or 8th at the NCAA championships in cross country without a lot of training behind you. He's got our 2 all-time best finishes at the NCAA cross country championships. I think my favorite moment, however, in his athletic career was regionals, junior year. We were down in Eugene, and Galen Rupp was the favorite that day. Everybody knows Galen. He's a multi-time U.S. champion and Olympian. My goal and David's goal that day was to beat Galen. So I had a team meeting the night before, and I said, hey, Kins, we know Oregon will get out to the front. They'll slow the race down. I said, anytime after the first mile that you're feeling good and you want to go ahead and take the lead and force the pace, then go for it. So he had a hard time holding himself back, but right before 2 miles, he took off in a 6.2 mile race. Galen Rupp in tow, and Galen was the only guy that could hang with him that day. And David led the race until the finish line when Galen outkicked him. But we got people's attention that day, and so did David, when he's leading Galen Rupp around the course in Eugene for 6.2 miles. On behalf of the University of Portland, it's my honor to induct David Kinsella into the 2020 WCC Hall of Honor class. Congratulations, Kins.
Hi, everybody. Hello, hello. There we go. I'm Ezra Broder with the West Coast Conference, and David's on stage with me now. First of all, congrats, David.
Thank you.
It's great to see the grainy standard def video of you running, but that was life back then. So your coach said you were offered a scholarship to Stanford, but you chose to attend Portland instead. Just talk to me about what went into that decision.
This feels like a bit of a tee-up to just be like, University of Portland, best school ever. I think he also left out the detail where he gave me a scholarship, so he's really kind of seeding this question. I think more honestly, the decision for me, one was frankly rooted in feeling like UP was small, and you would get attention, and you wouldn't just sort of get like swallowed up in a gigantic freshman class. But I think more importantly was probably the relationship with coach. So like he said on the video there, like, oh, you know, David, like very, very type A personality, which is true, which means that as a coach, like what I actually needed the most was someone who would back off and make jokes. And Rob Connor is nothing but a man who will make a lot of jokes and make light of situations and make you feel like they're not a big deal. And I think I intuited that when I was making that decision, and it ended up serving me really, really, really well. And I think in contrast, some of the other programs, great coaching staff, a little more draconian, and Rob had this sort of ineffable quality of just like, hey, you wanna just come be fast? And I was like, yeah, that seems easy. So I think that was a huge part of it.
This story has sort of come up when talking with various people, but tell us what happened the night before the 2008 regionals, which happened to be at Stanford.
So I'm kind of surprised that we want to discuss this story at a brunch, but I'll do my best to keep it high level. So we traveled down to regionals, which we had to do well in before advancing to the national scene, and I think we were there like 2 nights early. And we were staying at this hotel down on El Camino, maybe a few miles outside of Stanford. And we got in, and we were very, very, very hungry. And coach was like, "Oh, let's go get Thai food." So we go into this Thai restaurant, and at some point, someone says, "What's that? What's that noise?" And we realized that we were hearing the sound, this very familiar sound of bowling pins getting knocked down. And that's when we realized we were at a combo Thai restaurant bowling alley, which is a great idea. And we didn't think anything of it other than weird. This is how California does Thai food. And then to get to your question, though, ended up getting very, 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 very sick from bowling alley shrimp. But I think the reason it comes up, right, is because what was actually going on is we'd had a very difficult summer of training. I was often injured. I hadn't really gotten a summer of training in. The season had come together sort of last minute. Things were looking up. Things seemed to be going well. And then the night before the race, a lot of food poisoning. But ultimately, I think it was very, very grounding, because if I go back to what I said earlier about Rob being like this very centering coach who was good at knowing when to back off, I think he said something like, "Oh, you got food poisoning, like, no expectations." And I was just like, yes, no expectations. And so it ended up working really, really well. So that was the night before regionals.
Glad you were able to recover from that. You were kind of at the start of what's known as Grape Crush, as we heard, and we're not talking about the soda, of course, but what does it feel like to have sort of laid the foundation for one of the most successful cross-country programs in the country?
So I'm going to go ahead and say that actually Grape Crush was going for a while, and for the uninitiated, Grape Crush was this, Rob can do a way better job of describing it. I think Grape Crush, when you arrived at a freshman, was like, there were these cool t-shirts that the older guys had that said Grape Crush on them, and you were just like, I want that t-shirt, but you didn't really know what was behind it. But it was this idea, right, of this sort of ethos within the team of we are going to go and get a bunch of very, very, very hardworking individuals, not all of whom may have been like the most heavily recruited coming out of high school, and they are all going to train incredibly hard together, and like a bunch of grapes, they're going to like run like a pack, and they're going to hold each other accountable, not just in the race, but like day in and day out and day in and day out. And that had sort of cascaded to some victories like far beyond my time. I think what did happen in the years when I was at Portland is this notion of Grape Crush began to sort of expand beyond just like very powerful pack running that I think had earned the team some really well-deserved victories before. But we began to have guys like John Moore and Michael Kilberg and myself and a number of other names who began to like go far beyond that sort of pack running, and they were running at the Olympic trials, or they were winning All-American awards. And it was really sort of expanding this sort of definition, this idea of the program of like, oh, we're like a really talented group of pack runner guys. And because of that pack running, because of that grape crush, we can place well at the national championships. And suddenly it was like, no, like we can have people contend. And so when I look actually back to like who coaching now with people like Woody Kincaid, who I guarantee you will be up on this stage at some point because he is now the 5th fastest American of all time at the 5,000 meters, which is crazy. I think it kind of speaks to how much of achievement is rooted in belief, in terms of belief of what's possible. And so I benefited from that, looking at the early days of Grape Crush, and I think it's very affirming and inspiring to sort of see how that continues to sort of cascade out with classes he's training today.
So we talked a lot about your athletic achievements. You heard Sean mention earlier, first team academic All-American, 3.96 GPA as a biology major, nonetheless, and you did end up going to Stanford for law school. Is there anything that you didn't accomplish in college?
I mean, yeah, those A minuses kind of pissed me off, but no, I mean, seriously, I think that, I mean, like my two most honest answers are, I actually left college not knowing what I wanted to do, which seems like something that you should probably do in college, but increasingly is not a standard we seem to hold it to, so maybe that's okay. Like I went to law school and I don't even practice law, so like exhibit A. I think the thing that I look, insofar as like the question is like, hey, do you regret anything, or do you look back and feel like you missed anything? I think I worked really, really hard for running and for school. And actually, there's a couple of very good friends with me here today, former roommates, Jeff and Kevin, who I'm very pumped were here. They were actually just recently in my wedding. But the older I get, the more I realize like how important just relationships are in my life. Much more so than like GPAs or school or 4th places or 8th places or whatever. And so I think the one thing that I think that like if my older self could go back and be like, hey, you should probably try and accomplish this more, would probably be to spend more time with people that I ended up sacrificing simply because I was like, I'm going to go do 16 miles. So that's my most honest answer is probably feeling like a little bit of balance there.
Well, now is a great time to make up for that. Is there anyone you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I mean, like, look, I'm going to start with, first of all, thank you to my wife for being here because she didn't experience any of my running arc. And so I had to sort of like walk her through this, like, yeah, it's this thing, you got to go to Vegas. Let me tell you about the WCC. You're going to meet this crazy guy called Rob Connor, and so thank you, Sunshine, for coming here. Obviously, thanks to Jeff and Kevin, who I just mentioned, who are here, not just for being here, but that sort of Grape Crush ethos is very much like achievement through sort of group effort, and I would not have trained as hard nor accomplished as much without their sort of balancing presence in my life or even motivating. And then obviously Rob for knowing just when to take his foot off the gas pedal. Really impactful.
Thank you, David.
All right, so as we move along, just wanted to update the Wooden Award Top 15 just came out. Philip Petrushev from Gonzaga made the cut to the top 15 nationally for the John R. Wooden Award. The conference, by the way, we didn't mention this. I probably should have mentioned this off the top. 3 teams that are already locks for the NCAA tournament this year, which is fabulous for the WCC. St. Mary's, BYU has moved its way all the way up to a 5. I think they're going to get to a 4. I really do. And then Gonzaga Bulldogs, obviously, all year long have been ranked really inside the top 5, even the top 3 for majority of the season. So once again, another phenomenal year. And I mentioned this during a broadcast. The national narrative is funny sometimes, right? We're out west, and people talk about an East Coast bias and all these things. I hear so frequently, I wonder if they're going to be tested enough to be successful in the NCAA tournament. That's what I hear all the time. First of all, Gonzaga is the only program in the country to go to 5 Sweet 16s in a row. So I think that's a pretty good indication that this conference prepares you to be successful. And if Yoli Childs wasn't injured this year, and you guys know it over there at that table, if Yoli Childs wasn't injured this year, we could very easily be talking about 2 teams, I think, inside the top 10. That's how good the basketball has been in the WCC this season. Now, with that being said, I am really excited for this next person. You guys are a little flat. I'm just going to be honest. We're a little flat. It's early in the morning. Our next person that's coming up here, she has never been told that she doesn't have a dynamic personality. I mean, I vividly remember sitting at home watching her come off the field as she represented Team USA and doing a talk back with Julie Foudy. And they asked her, they said, "Hey, Allie, great game, blah, 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 blah." And she goes, "Yeah, right now I feel like I just want to put my head in a bucket of beer." That was a very interesting choice. But her play speaks for herself. She is one of the greatest to ever step on the pitch at any level in which she's done. She's a dynamic soccer player from Santa Clara. She propelled the Broncos to national prominence. Santa Clara won 82 matches and appeared in 3 NCAA College Cups. That's 3 Final Fours, capturing the 2001 National Championship. A 2-time first-team All-American, Allie Wagner was named to the West Coast Conference Freshman of the Year in 1999, captured the 2002 Hermann Trophy as the Women's Collegiate Soccer National Player of the Year. She still holds the Santa Clara record for postseason goals, assists, points, and game-winning goals. Her tally in the 2001 National Championship game led the Broncos to a 1-0 victory over perennial national power North Carolina. Wagner starred in the midfield for the U.S. women's national team from 1999 to 2008. She competed in the 03-07 FIFA Women's World Cup and the 2004-2008 Olympic Games. As a member of the national team, Wagner recorded 131 international appearances, scoring 21 goals and recording 42 assists. She was #1 overall pick by the San Diego Spirit in the Women's United Soccer Association. Following her decorated playing career, as I already mentioned, she is simply the best soccer analyst there is today, period. She made the first English language television history, being the first woman to ever broadcast a men's FIFA World Cup game as an analyst. An accomplished commentator, Wagner also called the 2019 FIFA World Cup and has regularly announced professional soccer on NBC, Fox, and Lifetime. Her accomplishments go beyond. So much of what we talk about with the women's national team has been this movement for equality and equal pay, which I think we're getting closer. And as a father of a young daughter who plays soccer, I'm really hoping that goes forward. Allie Wagner has been a huge part of setting the foundation for what we're seeing move in place right now on the women's national team level. And she is a loud, loud voice that is pushing through barriers herself. Ladies and gentlemen, from Santa Clara University, the great Allie Wagner.
She helped Santa Clara University to our first outright national championship. She was the National Player of the Year. She was All-American. She was an academic All-American. Many people probably don't know that about Allie. Allie leads our team in postseason goals, postseason points, and scored the only goal in a 1-0 win against North Carolina in the national championship game. So without Allie here, I'm pretty sure we would not have a national championship. Quite confident of that. She was named the Mac Hermann Trophy Award winner. She was the #1 player taken in the WUSA draft. She played in 2 World Cups. She played in 2 Olympic Games, won 2 Olympic gold medals. In 2018, broke a glass ceiling for women announcers by becoming the first woman to call a men's World Cup game in 2018. In Style magazine named Allie one of the 50 badass women of the United States. Allie really is demonstrating that compassionate, kind, gentle young women can get out there and kick ass in the business world and kick ass in their careers. And they can do it all. I mean, let's not forget that women are still fighting for equal pay and equal opportunity. And Allie's out there, one of the women leading the charge, and does it unapologetically. And I love that about her. On behalf of Santa Clara University, it's my pleasure to induct Allie Wagner into the 2020 West Coast Conference Hall of Honor. Allie, I've known you since you were about 8 years old, coming to my girls' soccer camps here at Santa Clara University. It's been a real pleasure to watch you grow up and become the woman that you are, the mother that you are, the wife that you are, the difference maker that you are out there in the world. I love you. Congratulations.
I feel like there's nothing better than listening to the disembodied voice of Jerry Smith.
There's many things. I don't know what you're talking about.
It really makes you focus on what he was saying and not just looking at him. But he mentioned, not in the video, but as a freshman, you said that you didn't want to go to North Carolina, which you could have, to win their 28th national championship, because that's not an accomplishment. You wanted to help get something started at Santa Clara. How hard was it to help build from the ground up?
You know, I think the idea of ending a dynasty, ending the North Carolina dynasty, it was something that was really intrinsically motivated in a lot of us. But I think you have to go to Jerry first and look at, he was the one who really built the dynasty, because from what you'll hear from all the athletes is you're only as good really as what your coach can provide to you, the vision that he can put out there for the players to gravitate towards, to want to come to the university. And then we go out and try to do our best to fulfill that vision. But ultimately, it was about him laying down the beautiful game and getting players like myself, Danielle Slayton, the two classes before us, Mandy Clemens, Kylie Bivens, Nikki Sherlenga, one of the actually best players in women's soccer history, who was on the national team briefly. Those players started to build the dynasty. And we came in and kind of, I would say, took it to the next level and made the dream of winning a first national championship for the university a reality. And everyone knows when you love something and it's your craft, it's the work you put in that every day that takes the little small steps to get you towards building a dynasty. You don't think about building a dynasty. Like I said, we thought about ending a dynasty. And in that process, I think we did build something. And I give all the credit, though, to Jerry, because he's the one that put that foundation down and brought in these really, really talented players. And I was just lucky enough to play with some of them.
You mentioned that national championship. You heard Sean say you scored the only goal.
Yeah.
How cool does that really
By the way,
feel?
Sean,
Come
you're
on.
hired. You're going to be my publicist or something. You're coming with me home.
I cost a lot of money.
Seriously, though, how cool does that feel? The only goal in the national championship. Like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's what dreams are. That's what every child. If you have a sport that you love, whether you're an artist, you envision the perfect moment and what that's going to taste like, what it's going to smell like, what it's going to feel like. And to get to live it, I mean, I had the worst celebration probably known to mankind. But it was pure elation because it was an out-of-body experience when I put that ball in the back of the net. And the beauty of that goal to me was there was many things. But one of them was that Jerry had said this. He's a man of mantras, and he's a man that's on repeat constantly in your head for good or for bad. And he would always say when we played North Carolina, they're terrible defenders. You can put that on YouTube. You're on Twitter. They're going to fly in, and like Top Gun, you hit the brakes, they fly right by. And the ball was laid in. I saw the defender, Danielle Borgman, rushing at me, and I knew she was toast. Just faked a shot, little cut, and then hit a nice shot that found the back of the net. But that moment was everything you dream of. And I actually have to go back to the semifinal match because in that game we were playing Florida. Now this is the semifinal game. Santa Clara had never gotten over this hurdle. And we're going into the game and it's wet, slippery field. And Jerry had said, whatever you do, don't play through balls down the center of the park, right? Down the center of the pitch. And sure enough, 2 of our 3 goals came off of through balls down the center of the pitch. And it just goes to, I think it's a beautiful story because it's, sometimes you gotta listen to your coach, and sometimes you don't.
He did kind of sum it up best in the video when he said you're kicking major ass in paving the way for women professionals. How do you see your role in that effort?
You know, it's interesting because the outcome of what I've been fortunate to do is perhaps giving opportunity to young girls, young boys. But I think for me, the message that I always want people to understand is find something you love and go change that field, go change that profession, whatever it is. So when I started getting into broadcasting, I realized I want to make it better. I think that there's a void in this space. I think that we can do this and, you know, bring our audience into the game more, teach them more, make them see the beauty of the sport the way I see it, the way I feel it. And I felt like there was that void, and that's why I got into it. It wasn't about, you know, I want to be the first woman to do something. It just happened that I felt like I could push a profession along, and I thought that I could ultimately, you know, call, yes, one of the biggest games in the world, the Men's World Cup, you know, but that was, you have to speak up to take those moments. But again, it wasn't because I wanted to be the first woman. I just thought if you're good enough and you work hard at it and you love it, you should put yourself out there and try to create that opportunity for yourself. And ultimately that will open up doors for people going forward. But that's what I tell my kids is don't think about doing something for the first time. Don't think about if you did do it for the first time. Think about how you're moving things forward. And that's what I want people to understand. It's about the profession. It's about the craft. It's about the love of what you're doing. It's not about, am I a girl? Is this a girl that should do a boy's job? Is this a boy that should do a girl's job? No, it doesn't matter. If you love it and you're good at it, go for it.
Well, you intentionally or unintentionally, you certainly have done that.
Yeah.
Is there anyone that you'd like to thank here today?
No. Just kidding. No, just Sean. We're good. No, absolutely. I first want to thank the WCC. I think when you look at what some of these athletes coming out of the WCC and specifically out of Santa Clara, the support system, I think the intimate environment that is set up at these universities, I can only speak to, you know, Santa Clara University specifically, but the support system and the way they care about the individual and the tools that they're giving these young, whether they're athletes or not, these young people coming into the world, that is everything. And you're not going to have your playing career forever. You're going to go on to try to change lives and other facets of your life. And I just think there's a big thanks to be had to the WCC, to obviously my university for giving us those tools and that foundation. And then specifically, you know, to Jerry I owe him everything, honestly, for what I've been able to do in soccer. The way that he's taught me to see the game and feel the game, it's next level. It's very different from the way other managers, you know, dealt with their players. And I'm forever grateful because I get to do what I love still, and that's largely because of him. And then, of course, my loving husband, because he is always there for me and always supportive. Although you kind of ruined my national team career, let's face it. I fell in love with him instead of soccer, actually. Jokes. He ultimately is my biggest fan and doesn't get a lot of credit for what he has to do when I'm out traveling and broadcasting. So I have to say thank you to him for allowing me to have a second career too.
Thank you, Allie.
Yeah, thank you.
Allie, we're going to actually ask you to stay so you can take a seat. Actually, no, I'm serious. Go ahead. No, seriously, go ahead. The words, they were powerful. but without the images, they're just words. Ladies and gentlemen, due to technical difficulties, we once again want to talk about Allie Wagner. Roll the video.
She helped Santa Clara University to our first outright national championship. She was the National Player of the Year. She was All-American. She was an academic All-American. Many people probably don't know that about Allie. Allie leads our team in postseason goals, postseason points, and scored the only goal in a 1-0 win against North Carolina in the national championship game. So without Allie here, I'm pretty sure we would not have a national championship. Quite confident of that. She was named the Hermann Trophy Award winner. She was the #1 player taken in the WUSA draft. She played in 2 World Cups. She played in 2 Olympic Games, won 2 Olympic gold medals. In 2018, broke a glass ceiling for women announcers by becoming the first woman to call a men's World Cup game in 2018. In Style magazine named Allie one of the 50 badass women of the United States. Allie really is demonstrating that compassionate, kind, gentle young women can get out there and kick ass in the business world and kick ass in their careers. And they can do it all. I mean, let's not forget that women are still fighting for equal pay and equal opportunity. And Allie's out there, one of the women leading the charge, and does it unapologetically. And I love that about her. On behalf of Santa Clara University, it's my pleasure to induct Allie Wagner into the 2020 West Coast Conference Hall of Honor. Allie, I've known you since you were about 8 years old, coming to my girls' soccer camps here at Santa Clara University. It's been a real pleasure to watch you grow up and become the woman that you are, the mother that you are, the wife that you are, the difference maker that you are out there in the world. I love you. Congratulations.
And for re-air purposes, we're going to redo the interview again, so no, I'm just kidding. Thank you so much, Allie. And by the way, credit to you, Allie's husband. I married a soccer player. I'm well aware how difficult they are and how competitive they are. Congratulations. You talk about great seasons. How about the University of Pacific this year and the job that Damon Stoudamire has done? Outstanding, huh? Tim, you're supposed to clap on that one back there. Tim, my former teammate from De La Salle. You're just kind of sitting there. What's going on? I mean, like I just mentioned, you direct message me and ask me if I'm going to be here on Twitter, all right? And then I bring up your school, talking about how great the year's been, and you don't clap. Thank you very much, Tim. Thank you. All right, yeah. Damon's had a tremendous season. First year that he's had a full scholarship allotment, and really just been a tremendous run for the Pacific Tigers as they have climbed up the rankings inside the WCC, and I think have a great future lying ahead of them as long as Damon is steering that ship. One of the most prolific scorers in school history, Dell Demps, impacted the game. Basketball is immeasurable. A 4-year starter, a 3-time All-Big West selection from 1988 to 1992. Demps finished his career with 1,742 points. He was a first-team All-Conference pick in 1992 and was voted Pacific's most valuable player twice during his standout career with the Tigers. He still ranks second in program history in scoring and second among 4-year players with a career scoring average better than 15 points per game. He holds the Pacific record for assists in a game with 14 in a win over UC Irvine back in the 1990-91 season. Demps captured all academic honors as well during his stellar career. He ranks among top 5 all-time in three-point field goals with 230. And that's before the whole Steph Curry thing, okay? Like, we just got to, like, Steph has kind of changed the way we view the three-point shot. Frank Alaco, we were talking earlier today about club basketball. You go watch club basketball games, there's 75 three-pointers attempted every single time you go out there, and every kid believes he's Steph Curry. So when you hear the number 230 three-point field goals, that is significant, especially with the way the game was being played back in the late 80s and early 90s. Demps went on to play 10 years professionally, both in the NBA and overseas. He spent 3 seasons with the NBA's Golden State Warriors, San Antonio Spurs, and Orlando Magic. After coaching in the G League for several seasons, Demps became a scout for the New York Knicks. He moved into the basketball operations as well as director of player personnel for the San Antonio Spurs and served as the senior vice president of basketball operations and general manager for the New Orleans Pelicans. Demps was inducted into the Pacific Athletics Hall of Fame during the 2003-2004 academic year. His number 5 jersey was retired in a special ceremony in 2019, honoring the Pacific great, and it hangs in the rafters and will for all time, and deservedly so. Ladies and gentlemen, from the University of Pacific, Dell Demps.
Obviously, as a student athlete, he excelled at the University of Pacific. He went on to play 10 years of professional basketball. He's had a tremendous career in the professional side, the executive side of professional sports. 9 years as a general manager of an NBA team, which is totally unbelievable. But most importantly, every level of success, every level he's participated in, he's continued made a difference at the university, in his communities, in sports, and he's always held himself to a higher standard, is why I've always been impressed and truly believe that Dell Demps is well deserved of a Hall of Fame award. I met Dell Demps when he did a summer internship for me. I really got to know him well in the late 90s. And I was so impressed with his attention to detail, to own the details, and to see whatever project, if it was in my office, if it was academics, if it was as a student athlete, he always strived to be the best. I remember when he was playing for the Golden State Warriors and they'd go on road trips. He would pop up his academic books because he was getting his master's in business while he was playing professional basketball. He'd come back in the summer and take classes. He was always continually looking for ways to make himself better, if it's personally, professionally, or academically. And obviously that becomes a great role model and inspiration for many, many people. On behalf of the University of Pacific, it gives me great pleasure and a true honor to welcome Dell Demps to the West Coast Conference 2020 Hall of Honor. Dell, the Paulson family are very proud of you and all your accomplishments. But you have so much more that we can follow, you have to look forward to. We wish you nothing but the very best, continued great health and success. Congratulations, Dell.
Well, congrats, Dell. Your story literally is a rags to riches story. In high school, you couldn't afford to play AAU basketball, so you got a job washing dishes to help pay that. What did you learn from that experience?
You know, when I think back on it, I had a great dad. You know, my dad, I never saw my dad without 2 jobs. And so he was my hero. And so for me to go out and work, I always thought of it as an opportunity. And when I worked at that restaurant, it was a small family-owned restaurant. And I always thought of those people as very kind people that helped me on my journey. And I mean, every night after, you know, I finished work, they used to give me food to take home. And so I always thought of them as like friends and family. And so I never really thought of it as work. I always thought that they were helping me go to, you know, help me on my journey where I wanted to go.
In high school, you made 8 three-pointers the entire time. You heard Sean mention at Pacific the total you amassed over 200, second best in program history. Where did that range come from?
You know, when I first arrived at Pacific, Coach Thompson and his dad, they told me they thought that I had the mechanics to become a good shooter. And they taught me how to shoot. And I really dove into the techniques, the work ethic, and the practice. And like I said, you know, Coach Thompson's dad, we called him Coach Senior. You know, we'd have these 6:30 in the morning workouts, and it really propelled my career, and I couldn't thank them enough.
And again, as we heard in the video, academics always very important to you. How hard was it to get your master's while playing in the NBA?
You know, it had its challenges, but, you know, I had my eye on the prize, and I always felt like I wanted to go into business after I finished playing. I wanted to do something that would separate myself. And at the University of Pacific, they gave me a great opportunity to come back and take classes. They were always very accommodating of my schedule. And so it really worked out great. It took me 6 years after I obtain my undergraduate degree to go back and finish my master's degree while I was playing. And like I said, I couldn't thank them enough for helping me along that ride.
In your NBA career, you played for Don Nelson, you played for Greg Popovich. They're first and third all-time in wins in the NBA history. You must have some good stories to tell, right?
Yeah, but with those two guys and the language they use, I don't know if it's appropriate today. but honestly, you know, those guys were great for me. They propelled my career, and you know, I later worked for Pop after I finished playing, and you know, it was just a great ride, and I'm truly thankful. I had a lot of people help me on my journey, and I feel lucky. You know, I still pinch myself all the time.
If you want to give a shout out to any of those people right now.
You know, first, you know, I want to thank my wife who's here. You know, she's also a University of Pacific graduate. We've been on an incredible ride. She's my biggest supporter, and I can't thank you enough. You know, here, Rick Paulson's also here, and, you know, I actually got teary-eyed listening to him speak. I still remember when I worked for Rick on the internship, and I tell people this all the time, you know, he showed me a world that I never knew existed. And through the years, being a mentor to me, I can't thank him enough, and it means the world to me that he's here today. My college roommate and teammate, Randy Lavner's here also, and you know, all the tears and all the hard work, it was great for him, great for me to have him here today. And you know, I thank the WCC for having us here today, and I'm very appreciative and humble, and just being with all the athletes and hearing the stories, it's just great. It's an experience I'll never forget. And I just want to say thank everyone for being here today. And I truly feel lucky to be here.
Congrats, Dell.
Thank you.
Our next inductee enjoys the spicy shrimp flatbread at the Davenport Hotel as much as I do. Anybody that watches me call Gonzaga games know that I will reference that at least at some point in time. It is a bingo card, I believe, now in the city of Spokane. Heather Bowman was one of the top basketball prospects in her class nationally. But because of the spicy shrimp flatbread and the fact that she was born and raised in Spokane, she didn't pass up on the opportunity to represent her hometown school. She signed with Gonzaga, not Gonzaga, as some people will say, in 2006, spearheading the rise of the women's basketball program. Just months into her freshman season, Bowman helped Gonzaga earn its first win over a nationally ranked opponent, which will not be named because of where I went to school. It was UCLA. They were 21st in the country. There were plenty of firsts for the Zags when Bowman was leading the way. Gonzaga earned its first NCAA tournament appearance, earned its first NCAA tournament victory, and its first Sweet 16 appearance. It was a stellar career for her in Spokane. It concluded with her being Gonzaga's all-time leading scorer, 2,165 points. She held the West Coast Conference scoring record as well for several years. A four-time first-team All-WCC selection. She also ranks in the top 3 all-time among the Zags in games played, field goals made, field goal percentage, free throws made, and rebounds. That's pretty good. In 2007, she was the WCC Newcomer of the Year. Bowman went on to capture the Conference Player of the Year honors as a sophomore, averaging better than 20 points per game. She led Gonzaga to its 6th straight WCC regular season title and the program's first Sweet 16 appearance as a senior in 2010. After graduation, she has served as an assistant coach at Whitworth University and later returned to Gonzaga as a member of the staff from 2014 to 2016. Ladies and gentlemen, from Gonzaga University, the great Heather Bowman. Congratulations.
You look at Heather's achievements and her level of excellence. She's that's what you want in a Hall of Fame player.
She put her heart and soul out on the basketball court. She showed up ready to go, would bring others with her if there was any lull in energy or if something was going on. It was just, we're here to play and be better and be the best we could be out on the floor and as people. And she just was a great example of what it means to be a Zag.
She's just so unassuming. I mean, you look at Heather Bowman and you're like, oh, you know, like pretty mellow, low-key player. And I think nowadays people always talk about these players that have this like swag with them. And she doesn't necessarily carry like that swag. She just comes onto the court, she's pretty quiet, does her business and gets it done. Heather definitely has an impact beyond basketball and within our community here in Spokane. Not only is she a coach at Farm Girl Fit, connecting with other women in our region, but she's also a board member of the Inland Northwest Business Alliance and working to create and promote safe and inclusive spaces to work at within our region to include and accept diversity.
On behalf of Gonzaga University, it is my pleasure to induct Heather Bowman into the 2020 West Coast Conference Hall of Honor class. Congrats, Bo. You deserve it.
Foundation of a dynasty, baby. Congrats, Bo. Love you.
So as your teammates mentioned, you were a little undersized for your position, and not seen in that video. They talked about when you faced off against Danielle Adams of Texas A&M, who, just to give you all an idea, was probably at least twice your size. Do you remember playing against her, and what do you think you learned from playing the underdog role, both maybe specifically in that game, but in general being at Gonzaga when it wasn't what it is today?
You know what, I think I learned to thrive under it, and I think the whole team did. I think that gave us an edge as we moved along and found more success. I clearly remember Danielle. She was an incredible player, but also I remember we had myself, Vivian Freisen, she was another undersized post for us. She was about 6 foot, you know, both didn't quite have the strength maybe that Danielle did, and just working our butts off to block her out. And I don't think she moved her feet. I mean, we had like the low center of gravity, just busting her butts. So going into that game, actually, we had seen her before. We'd lost to Texas A&M. So we got there, and it was for the Sweet 16. So we had a little bit of edge to us. We're going up and down, especially with, you know, a player like Danielle. I'm like, well, I'm not going to beat her in the block, so I'm just going to try to outrun this girl. Like, that's what I got to do. And we always had the knack of finding a way. And I have this really clear memory. It was at the end of the game, and it was tight, and I think we're going on a run. Couldn't tell you the numbers, but Janelle, one of my teammates who's over there, she looked at me with Danielle standing right next to me and goes, Bo, she's exhausted. Keep running at her. And the look on her face made me a little scared, but luckily she was a little tired, so we were able to kind of get up and down. But yeah, I think it gave us some resilience, you know, and myself as well moving forward.
You left Gonzaga as both the school's and the conference's all-time leading scorer. As is bound to happen, you've since been passed, but just knowing all the great players that have come through this league, what does it mean to see your name at or near the top?
It's really exciting for me. I mean, I think part of it, I mean, records are meant to be broken. You know, it's fun in the moment when it's broken. That means, you know, really great scorers coming after you. So that's always great to see, but I think it's an indicator of, you know, where we were at the time and kind of the start of, hey, we had some players come through. I mean, my scoring average went down as we got better, you know, because we had Courtney Vandersloot come through. We had Vivian Freisen, you know, increase her game. We had these players come in, and we won more games that way. So it's a really great indicator of, you know, kind of the start of something really cool, but yeah, it still means a lot.
Your friends talked about how much you give back to your hometown, Spokane, and to your school. What is it about Spokane and Gonzaga that makes them so special?
So many things. I mean, you can hear just walking around Vegas, you know, you can do Go Zags, and you can hear it, you know, just echoed back just about anywhere we go. But Gonzaga does instill a sense of service, and I think our athletic program and my coaches at the time, they made it very clear that we're, you know, global citizens. It's not just that we're basketball players. You know, you have to think outside of yourself. So I think just knowing that Gonzaga also has a platform in Spokane. You know, for example, Tautri mentioned the INBA. It's the LGBTQ Business Alliance, Business Chamber. in Spokane. So, my thinking is, okay, whether it's Gonzaga connections or more visibility to this community or something, it's just motivating. It feels like the right thing to do. And if you have the energy to it and the bandwidth to go and do these sorts of things, then, let's make the community a better place, and hopefully that spreads out.
If there's anyone that you'd like to thank.
I mean, just everybody here. I'm overwhelmed this week from all of you that showed up and came down. It just meant the world to me to have some old teammates, some really good friends. Obviously, the folks from Gonzaga who, put up with me during my time there, and we've known each other a while now. But to, nominate me for this. And, of course, my mom and my dad, who love you so much, and have been there and, just supported me through everything, and all the friends that showed up. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Shoe game is strong. Strong shoe game. All right, we're almost at the halfway point. Yeah, you can look at your watches. It's okay. Or actually, how many of you actually have watches? You're looking at your cell phones. But we are going to take a 2-minute stretch break. So if you want to, you just actually not even 2 minutes. You can stand up a little bit. You want to move a little bit side to side. That's okay. If not, we're good. See, a couple of you are going to stand up a little bit. I get it. It's important. It keeps the crowd lively when you can move a little bit, all right? Excellent. Anybody need some water? We'll get some water. Tag, you get water. You're about to talk. All right, good. Is that spicy water or just real water? All right. Thirty seconds until we re-begin the program, or Allie Wagner stops taking pictures. All right, if we can get you back being seated now, that would be great. As we're going to continue along this program, we still have 6 more inductees to go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, get the program back on track here. The Hall of Honor here at the WCC tournament. Next up is Tag Bose. Yes. Multifaceted athletic talent is what I've been told coming out of high school. He was a phenomenal all-conference football, basketball, and baseball player. It was his focus on baseball, though, that helped put San Francisco on the map. He is the only 3-time All-American in program history, one of the greatest power hitters in WCC history. In 4 stellar seasons on the hilltop, he ranks near the top in nearly every batting statistic at USF. He still owns the conference record with 60 home runs, 240 runs scored, and is second in WCC history with 222 runs batted in, and ranks 8th with 287 hits. Following an All-American freshman season, Bose posted one of the greatest offensive seasons in conference history, launching 30 home runs and compiled a .937 slugging percentage, becoming USF's first ever first-team All-American and unanimous selection as the WCC Player of the Year. He was USF's first Triple Crown winner in the modern era. Bozaid was named the semifinalist for the Rotary Smith Award, recognizing college baseball's top player as a junior. He finished his career as the Don's all-time leader in hits and runs scored, shattering several single-season marks along the way. Still holds the USF record for home runs, runs batted in, extra base hits, and total bases. He was selected by the San Diego Padres in the 3rd round of the 2001 Major League Baseball draft. He was later selected as one of the top 50 athletes in West Coast Conference's 50th anniversary team. Ladies and gentlemen, from the University of San Francisco, this man has style, brings a little flair to the ceremony today, ladies and gentlemen. You might see him at Reba and Brooks and Dunn later tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, from the University of San Francisco, Tag Bozaid.
The numbers that he was able to consistently put up while he was in college, earning a degree, and then going on and playing professionally were very unique and special at both levels. He was an exemplary representative of the university as a servant leader. He represented the country with Team USA and was an incredible ambassador to the sport, the country, and the university while he played overseas in China. He was a true sportsman. He wanted his opponents to be at the very best of their game, and he wanted to compete against you at your best. He was a passionate learner. He was an amazing teammate and a leader, and exemplified everything that you would want out of a student athlete here at the University of San Francisco. His passion and desire to learn and accumulate knowledge filtered down into his need and want to be able to give back to the community, give back to the elementary schools in San Francisco, and be able to teach the things that he had learned and to teach the lessons on the field and off the field that made his experience here special, but made him so impactful in our community. On behalf of the University of San Francisco, it is my pleasure to induct Taggart Bozaid into the 2020 West Coast Conference Hall of Honor class. Congratulations, Tag.
Congrats, Tag. Your choice of hat is a little different these days, but I like it.
Thank you. Thank you.
As Sean mentioned, you earned the Triple Crown in the WCC in 1999, which again means leading the conference in batting average, home runs, and RBI. What clicked for you that season?
I think a little bit of time. As my uncle has always reminded me, you got to work your ass off. So I think that there was a little bit of payoff over time with that in terms of what I'd put in. But I think probably most influentially was like with Troy, Coach Nakamura that you just saw there, and Nino Geritano, who's still the head coach there. I just think there was a lot of wisdom. There was a lot of purpose. There was a lot of culture that got injected into the program that I really benefited from. So I think in terms of clicking, it was definitely kind of a cultural type of thing, and I have some teammates here that I think would attest to that. So.
That same year, you got to play for the USA College National Team. What did it feel like to represent your country on the diamond?
Yeah, I mean, I was just a walk-on from South Dakota, you know. So, and then my sophomore year, I hit, I think, 15 home runs in the first 15 games. So everything kind of just changed in a month, it felt like. But to go from being a walk-on in South Dakota to, you know, coming to California, the first time I'd ever been to California was when I came to school there. And I just wanted to go to California to compete against the best because I knew you had to go to California, Texas, or Florida. So going from being a walk-on from South Dakota to getting to compete in California, which to me was awesome. And then on July 4th, remember we played Mexico, I cried because it just happened so fast, you know? So yeah, it was really special. Yeah.
That is special. Give it up. We heard Troy's former teammate and coach talk about how engaged you were in the San Francisco community. Can you talk about why that was so important to you?
Yeah, I think the diversity of campus and the diversity of the city, and I think that the way the conference aligns itself with the values of acceptance and the values dedicating yourself to the community. And one thing that I always liked, I don't know if Coach G still does it, but he would never tell us. So we'd think we'd have a normal, like a normal practice day, and then we'd show up, everybody show up on time, and then they'd pull the plug and be like, hey, we're going to the church, or hey, we're going to the food drive, or hey, we're going to the elementary school. And so that always was like kind of a jolt that would definitely connect you to the purpose. And I think even further than that, you know, at least when I was in school, you know, the first meeting, when you out the gate, they let you know the community values, and they let you know that the values of inside of the education, inside of the sports experience. And you know, and again, I think that the South Dakota to San Francisco connection for me, that was just really enlightening, and to find purpose inside of a community, like with the team, and then to extend that, I still apply those types of lessons and those types of experiences today.
Is there anyone that you'd like to thank today?
No, not many. Yeah, I mean, I think on top of who's here, you saw Troy and Nino, to me, are USF. They've been there now for over 20 years. And I think that the type of investment and the type of dedication that they make to the student athletes, I think it's really awesome, because I know that's not the only place, even at our school, that there's that kind of quality of people. I think a couple of call-outs as well. Andrew Clements and some of my upper-class teammates. You know, when I was young, our team was a little bit older, and when I came in as a young guy, I was trying to make it. I was there for a purpose. And my teammates were really, really good, I think, particularly when you consider the ascent. Like I said, in a month, all of a sudden, everything kind of changed in a month. And I always felt really well supported by my teammates. My uncle Dan, we were telling a story last night. I was like 12 years old, living in South Dakota, and I had dreams, right? And I came over to his house, and he had VHS recorded a kid from Texas who was like my age, who could do 25 push-ups, and he played it when I got there, and because he knew I had a big game or something. And he goes, that's what they're doing in Texas. He goes, let me see you do 25 push-ups. And I'm like, I couldn't do 5. And I was like, it still sticks with me today. He doesn't even remember that, but that level of perspective, I think, was really influential from the start. And then I was a walk-on from South Dakota. My parents went into debt to give me an opportunity to go compete in California. So I think, you know, the multitude, the variety of influence, and the variety of support that I received was outstanding.
You've earned the right to not do push-ups on stage for us. So.
All right. I can do 25 now, though.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hang on, can I get a selfie with the crew in the back there?
I think this one's going on the gram. Little known fact about me, I actually coached in the WCC. I was an assistant coach right out of college for Jan Van Bredikoff when he was at Pepperdine University. And so when I walked onto campus, you'd start walking around and you're looking at some of the other coaches, and I looked at some of the other programs. And Coach Tim Ward, his daughter actually plays with my daughter now, and we reminisce back on a lot of those days. And I just remember this volleyball coach who was just holding it down and had absolute command and respect of everybody inside the athletic department at all times. Deservedly so. Let me just read to you a couple of these accolades. With nearly 600 career indoor wins, plus 20 NCAA tournament appearances, in addition to a beach national championships in both 2012 and 2014. Nina Mathis has cemented her place as one of the most accomplished volleyball coaches of all time. When you hear those numbers, you realize what I'm talking about when you walk on campus and you start respecting coaches and the way that they react and the respect they get from their players. She has done it. In 31 seasons, As the Pepperdine women's volleyball head coach, she posted 590 victories. The Waves reached the NCAA Tournament Elite Eight in both 2002 and 2011, making the regional semifinals on 5 other occasions. Pepperdine finished ranked in the AVCA Top 25 14 times with 3 top 6 finishes. Her teams captured 11 West Coast Conference championships, finishing with the league slate undefeated 9 times. She is a 10-time WCC Coach of the Year. The Dine won 78% of its conference matches and owned a pair of 40-plus match winning streaks with her leadership. She guided the Waves to an undefeated season in the inaugural AVCA Sand Volleyball title in 2012 and was the AVCA's National Coach of the Year in 2013, the first year the award was given.